And welcome back. You are watching The Trend right here on NTV. Hashtag Hermina at The Trend Live is how you get a hold of us on Twitter. Right now, we get to talk about, I think, an industry that has now been really saturated because everyone who has a camera, everyone who has a phone, everyone who has a device now considers themselves a photographer. But there are those in the industry who've made a name for themselves and they continue to book gigs, and their photos are what they say about pictures. It can truly, just speak more than 1,000 words. So I have in studio with me these amazing, incredible photographers who I'll allow them to tell us their AKAs. Hey guys, Nete Clement, Salimiana.
Hi guys, my name is Clement Kirago. I'm a commercial and wildlife photographer.
All right.
Hi guys, I'm Willie Muturi. I'm a wedding photographer. Yeah.
And my name is Tandiwe Morel, and I'm a commercial photographer.
So, Tandiwe, you started out as a commercial photographer, or you?
No, so photography was my hobby. So I guess I started out as a hobbyist, and it turned into a profession. Initially, I'd shoot a lot of portraits of people, and slowly that progressed into a career shooting advertisements for companies.
Yeah. And luckily for you, you started out when you were very young.
I did. I began when I was 14 years old. So this is what I've done basically all my life.
Wait, was it the same for you guys, Clement? I mean, your parents, did they understand when you said that?
It was completely the opposite for me. I started out in advertising. I was an art director for almost 10 years. Now, through interacting with filmers and photographers, I started getting interest for photography. That's how it happened for me.
Yeah. And then you sort of just found yourself here now.
Yeah, I started with portraits, then that went into commercial photography. But I've always wanted to shoot wildlife, so I'm still torn in between what I like more.
Yeah. But and for you, was it quick for you to decide on weddings?
Yeah, for me, yes, weddings excite me. I love everything about weddings. There were mamas singing, dresses, food, yeah. Everything I love about weddings. So I decided to focus on that. And also that's where I really feel comfortable in, yes.
Yeah. So this is the one industry that I feel like gender-wise, we are represented, right?
Represented or underrepresented?
Really? I feel like we are represented because I know several female photographers.
I think we're underrepresented. They're there. We're beginning to become more. But initially, when I began, I'd only worked with men, and I knew of one or two other female photographers.
Yeah.
So I think I'm excited to get company now.
Yeah.
But people mostly see it as a male profession. I think it's because it involves a lot of technology, computers. If we're not shooting, we're in front of a computer. You're carrying heavy gear, so it can be a bit intimidating at first as a woman. Yeah,
I sort of see how that could happen. But not for you, Tandiwe. It was not intimidating for you, so much so that you've worked with so many big brands. Your work has been seen on publications, exhibitions around the world. In South Africa, Picture Africa exhibition, Canada, Crowd Magazine, Arabia, Harper's Bazaar. How does it feel to, gain so much recognition?
I think as a creative, I guess everyone else will agree with me. It's amazing when people enjoy your work. Most of us love people enjoying our work, and that's where every time we create, a piece of our soul goes into what we're shooting. So for me, it's amazing to have people just enjoy the work that I pour my heart and my soul into.
Yeah. Now, the future of photography, Clement, really. So now, I mean, everyone has a phone now, everyone's doing their thing, and I think every single device when it comes out, the competition is which one will, which one's going to release better selfies? Which one will you use at your wedding? Which one are you going to use, on Valentine's Day as people count down? Does DSLR have a future, 5, 10 years? I mean, what do you think?
No, I see the future will always, I see this as equipment because for me it's the art. Whatever you use to capture the art does not really matter. If you're going to use a phone or a Canon or a Nikon, I don't think it really matters. So I think the art of photography will always remain there. Yes.
Now, for wedding photography, Willie, what would be the top 3 elements that new photographers breaking into wedding photography should prioritize?
Number 1, enjoy weddings. Weddings could be very long. You start shooting from in the morning at around 5:30, and you're not counting the time you woke up, took breakfast, traveled to the bride's place. You have to be very patient. Number 2, you have to enjoy. You have to really invest emotions into. If the bride is almost shedding a tear, you know how you're going to take that photo and what you're going to capture. Number 4, I like talking about passion, because if you are not passionate, you get bored real quick. You might try being patient and being creative, and then if you're not passionate, it will just grow out of you.
Yeah, and then it'll become more of a task, more of a job, because it's, it's creativity. Now, when it comes to standing in front of the camera, now, it's not, well, for Clement, he takes pictures of animals, so it's okay. They don't have to pose. But, Thandiwe, you have to sort of help, couples, for Willie's case, but you have to sort of help the person who's in front of the lens. What do you do to sort of try and manage expectations when they're not performing as well?
To manage expectations, I think photography is very relational. People think it's just picking up a camera and taking pictures, and yes, there's a technical aspect, but we need to connect with the person we're taking pictures of. So one of the things I found very helpful is I talk a lot when I'm shooting. I may sound a little crazy, but I realize the more you talk, the more comfortable your subject feels. I find connection points. Is it that I love your outfit? I love your earrings today, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Is it I love your hair, your makeup? And that just becomes a point we can connect on, and I can slowly encourage you towards where I know the shoot needs to go. Because if you rush people into it, if you are forceful, they close up. Being in front of the camera is not very comfortable for everybody, and you kind of need to ease people into it by just being very relational.
Now, I know this is something you've done, and I imagine, Clement, because, of course, of wildlife, this is something he's also done, producing images to sell. What are some of the aspects, you need to concentrate on as you do that? And, I mean, tell us about the pictures you've sold, if any, and how much were they?
Yeah, when I'm shooting wildlife or nature, and I'm thinking about, I'm always thinking about, would I want to see this on my wall? So I'm capturing the beauty of nature. I avoid shooting so much the action images, the animals eating each other. That would not look very nice in a house somewhere. So when I'm shooting to sell to people, I'm looking to show beauty. I'm looking to show the beauty of nature, the beauty of this animal. Yes.
Yeah. All right, and then it sort of like comes up. What about you, Thandiwe?
Well, I never really shoot with the intention of, I want to sell this. For me, it's very much about what am I trying to communicate, what is the objective of this photo shoot, and I think that's a very commercial photographer approach, because you're always shooting towards a goal. So even in my personal work, it's maybe exploring the things I enjoy as a photographer. I love color, so my work is very colorful. And I'm very passionate about African culture and our history and just the African perspective on beauty, short hair, thick lips, big nose. And so I'll kind of explore those things. And I find my work sells to people who connect with that. It's not just about, I want to sell this. It's how much, if you pour yourself into your work as an artist, then it's easy to sell those pieces because they have hearts, they have soul, and they connect with people.
Now, I bet this has happened to maybe one of you, where you see your picture on another page, someone else has taken all the credits. We live in this online era where you have to protect your rights. You have to, because it is your content. Willie, have you ever seen someone take credit for your pictures?
Yes, I have. But for me, I've handled it differently, mostly because the people whatever they've posted, since mostly I'm taking very personal images, and every image that is on my page, I have consent. So for someone to take a wedding photo and put on their own page, I mean, it's very petty. So the last few times I've seen that, I like that photo, and I like nice photo, and because they know where they got that photo,
like that.
They will see Willie Mutui, and then they will either delete the photos or delete my comment or block me. Anyway, anything works for me.
And what about you, Clement? And what did you do?
That affects me very much, because nature photography, people are always stealing those images and trying to print them. I have my lawyer on speed dial. That is one way to deal with it. But that really doesn't stop people from stealing. So you still have to go through building a website that is very hard for people to steal images from. You can watermark your images. People will always steal, but I guess you have to go the legal way.
Okay.
You have to protect your work, because you have poured your soul into that piece, You have to protect them.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a photographer called Kabir Danji. I think I pronounced Danji. I hope I pronounced his name right. He was the photographer who posted the gory images of the Dusi D2 attack that of course elicited a lot of reactions across the world, actually, when we hashtag someone tell, you know, New York Times, and it became a really big story. Let's talk about ethics when it comes to photography. Are there any, Thandiwe?
There are.
Okay.
I think it depends on what field you're in. You know, as a wildlife photographer, they may be less ethics compared to journalism.
Yeah.
But I think there is a line to say, at least as a commercial photographer, for me, it's editing images and manipulating images. And there's been a big hullabaloo about, you know, why are you not representing the real person? You know, we clean up skin, we make your neck longer. Do you want your waist slimmer?
Yeah.
We can do all that. And that brings about a big ethical debate. And it's understanding who your target audience is and what you're achieving. I think if it's very clear that you say, I edit my pictures, for me that, you know, people know that this is not maybe the 100% real essence of the person, but a best version of them. But it's a fine line, you know? Do I edit too much? Do I not? When you get your picture taken, you want to look good. If you had a pimple that morning, you kind of want it removed.
Perfect. I like you saying that I'm the biggest pimple in the world. It's okay, Sandy.
No, you're so beautiful.
You're right.
But,
you're right.
you know, it's a very fine line between meeting the needs of the client or the brief that you received and being truthful.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's why I'd never want to be a journalist. That line becomes even tighter in that field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Exactly.
It really does, especially because I don't want any flaw whatsoever. That waist has to be cinched, that, you know, the hip do something, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And Sandiwe doesn't do much editing. Now we cannot. It has to look so fake. Now, for the guys who are watching right now, you have a lot of people who do still want to be photographers. Starter kits, how much should it be? How much was it for you, real quick, as we wrap it up, so that they can also sort of see and understand, okay, capital-wise, this is how much I need?
As for me, I started with a very small Canon. It was about 35,000. Then after that, I bought a flashlight. It's about 10,000. I think what I would tell people is you need to first think if you have that talent in you. Don't do photography because you think it's a cool job. It's something you need to prepare yourself to do for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Okay.
I think about the art and not, it's so cool to take images, I'm going to buy a camera and become a photographer. Yeah.
All right. Willie?
For me, I think anyone who's coming into the industry, unfortunately, right now they are competing with, you know, the rapid technology changes as we came in when, you know, cameras were not that advanced. However, I also would like to say let them focus on their skill. Like for me, I like focusing on photos that make you feel a certain way, not photos that look a certain way. So if the bride laughs, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
I think it's important to say the gear doesn't make the photographer. So you could have the world's most expensive camera, but if you don't know how to use it, your pictures are just going to be average pictures. So don't get discouraged in, cameras are expensive, but you can start taking amazing pictures with your phone. It's about training your eye, learning to see the picture and the elements that make a good picture. And once you do that, that's a hard part. The easy part is getting the equipment and, you know, you can work your way around that, but nobody can develop your eye. And it's not the gear that makes your photographer, it's your eye.
Wow, there you go. Oh my word. Clearly I cannot be a photographer because I don't have all of those elements. I don't know what you're talking about. Thandiwe, Willie, we've got Clement Kirago as well who's comes through. Thank you so much, guys. Amazing, incredible photographers, all of them. Make sure that you work with them, guys. Your wedding, when you're going into the wild. Thandiwe Fashion and Beauty, but you know, really, they're all commercial photographers. You can have a chat with them. We're going to be tagging them on our social media at The Trend Live.